Welcome to Micro Moments of Self-Love. I'm your host, Fatema Dewji, and today, get ready for an exciting and controversial episode as we explore the amazing journey of Jessie Clark. Jessie, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. I just wanna take the viewers back to how I was introduced to you. I remember I was scrolling through TikTok and I think I came across a video that it's got about 10 million hits, right? And the video was of you sitting with the Maasai tribal leaders, right? Talking to them about FGM and child marriage. But I think what was very interesting to me was that it was a young guy, someone, that didn't look Tanzanian or African, it was a very powerful video, and I think for me that was something that was not only inspiring because it was someone that was not Tanzanian doing it, but it was also someone very young, who had a passion and a vision beyond themselves, so that's why I got in touch with you, and I really wanted to help. But I think life works out very beautifully because we got talking, and then I thought it would be amazing to just hear your story and to have you tell people your story and what you're doing. So thank you, Jessie, for being here.
Thank you, Fatema. I'm really glad that video went as viral as it did, and the power of social media is incredible. People talk quite negatively about social media a lot, but people don't often talk about the positive side of social media, so I'm really thankful that you saw it, and now I'm here.
So you're going to Butiama tomorrow,
right? Landed in Dar yesterday, and I'm obviously here to be with you and meet you and do this podcast, and tomorrow early in the morning I fly to Mwanza, and then a 3.5 hour drive up to Butiama, Musoma.
So I've seen a lot of amazing comments on your videos. I think for me it's so inspiring what you're doing, but I'm sure that you have had a little bit of backlash, a little bit of controversy, not only online from people who maybe don't really trust your intentions, but also from people in Tanzania or these tribes that believe that there's nothing wrong in what they're doing. I think with culture it becomes a bit tricky, right? Because people think that this is what they know, this is what they're used to. So how did you deal with all this? So let's start with first just the kind of the criticism you get online. What kind of criticism do you get, and how do you deal with it?
It's crazy. So that video that you mentioned, the one that went really viral, there are a couple of comments like, leave their culture alone, or that's their culture, leave them. And they have a horrible number of likes. Those comments, like one of those comments has 15,000 likes. Obviously the video has millions of likes, so much more than that comment. But the way I see it now is when these negative comments first started coming in, I would kind of laugh at them and just kind of brush it off. But now I actually take them really seriously, and in sport, some people say the best form of defense is attack. So I just attack them, and I'm like, if you're telling me, I'm trying to stop these young girls getting married and being raped and having FGM done to them, I'm trying to stop that. So if you're trying to stop that, you are pro-rape, you are pro-FGM, you are pro-child marriage, and you are a disgusting human being. So that's kind of how I deal with that.
And what about for people who Tanzanians, when you're speaking to these Maasai leaders, you have to understand that obviously their mindset is so different to us, right? They genuinely deep down it's changing, we spoke about, it's changing an entire belief system, right? How do you go about talking to people like this?
So without blowing my own trumpet, it definitely requires a certain level of bravery. Not just anyone could rock up to the middle of nowhere with a bunch of tribal Maasai men with spears in their hand. They've just killed a lion. Not anyone can do that, but thankfully I felt quite safe, because that particular video and that particular meeting with those Maasai men, more of them were welcoming to me than than opposing me. There were a couple, and one guy in particular, he actually had a big fat scar all across his body like that from a lion, because, you know, like Maasai boys, you know, to become a man, they have to go and kill a lion and stuff. So I was a bit, like, not intimidated by him, but I was a bit wary of him, and he had a spear in his hand, and I was thinking, if I say something that he really doesn't like, he could just do whatever he wants. But thankfully that didn't happen. The way I deal with it, if I face like a real kind of face-to-face opposition, I just stick to my guns, and I don't go looking for a fight, but you know, I try to speak as respectfully as I can. But when it comes to like a young girl being completely violated, like raped, or in a child marriage, or being cut, then there's no beating around the bush. Like, you have to say it how it is. And a lot of them tell me to, I'm not going to swear, I can't swear on here, a lot of them tell me to, you know, but I just stick to it. And like, if I have to fight, I have to fight. If we can settle it like adults, then we do. But I don't just, like, if they oppose me, I don't just say like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, and like walk away. No. Okay,
so, you know, a majority of people, they don't want to put themselves in situations like this, where if it comes to fighting, they have to fight. Like, people like being on the fence. There's very few people like you, Jesse, who like will sit there and be like, okay, you know, this is what I truly believe in. This is something I'm very passionate about. And I can see that in the way that you speak about it, but also putting yourself in situations like this. What was it like? Give me a story of like a 10-year-old Jesse, okay? Like, what was going through you? Like, what was in Jesse at that time that maybe led to you doing the work that you're doing now?
So, when I was 8 years old, I watched a program with my mom. It was called like Red Nose Day or Children in Need. Maybe you've seen that. It's basically where like British or American celebrities like David Beckham goes to Africa, and I can't even remember which country, but this particular program just really touched me. It was just like the first time I was exposed to poverty, albeit just through a TV screen. And I was crying so much for hours, and I asked my mum, why do those kids have nothing and I have all this? I don't understand. She didn't really have an answer for me, you know. But since that moment, since I was 8 years old, I've just completely had it in my whole body, my heart, that I have to go to Africa one day and help people. And that was my thoughts as a kid. And then as I got a bit older and wiser, I realized I can't just fly to Africa and just help people, and that's very like naive and stupid, to be honest. But so I found out about these like specific issues such as FGM and child marriage, and so it's just been in me since I was a kid. Yeah.
You know, I think it's very interesting that as children we have a purity in us, and I think a lot of children who would watch something like that, their heart would cry out. But it's so interesting that when you get older, it's like there's so many filters that come in, and there's so many like you get in your own way, and that kind of connection, you lose it, right? So how did you maintain that? Like, I feel like, I'm sure that there's a lot of kids who watch the same video as you, their hearts would cry out, right? But then somehow you get older and you kind of don't care anymore. And we know a lot of people like this. So what is it that just like, you know, that remained in you to continue doing this?
I mean, I think that's quite a hard question to answer. I don't know, but I think the way that I was brought up, I think like for a lot of people outside of the UK, like maybe a lot of people in Africa or whatever, like they have a certain idea that like everyone in England is rich, or like everyone has loads of money. And it's not true. Like, I grew up in a single parent family. Like, we struggled. We weren't living in poverty, but I grew up very non-materialistic. You know, I never had like designer clothes or anything. I still don't. But like, so I was just very like real. And my mum always told me like, you know, just be yourself and find the truth. Don't believe the politicians and this and that. And so my brain or me, I just never got like infiltrated by all this kind of fake stuff that we see in the world. Just like growing up, it was football, friends, family, Africa. Like, it's just
So I think you answered it perfectly well. I think that's the problem. I think as we grow up and we start getting attached, right, to like material things, and we start getting attached to like things that are outside us, and sometimes it kind of kills that spark inside. You know, so it's good to know that, you know, sometimes not having or being exposed to all this, it kind of keeps that innocence going, right? But you mentioned a little bit about your mom, and I know, like, I've watched a lot of videos, and I follow your stories, and she seems like she's been quite like played such a big role in your life. So can you talk a little bit about your upbringing, your family? How was everything?
So I'm the son of an Egyptian former Olympic wrestler. My dad was like quite famous in Egypt, and my mom is a music teacher from Derby in England, and then she moved to London when she was like 18 or 19 years old. I was born to them, and they divorced when I was 3, and a crazy thing happened when I was 4. My dad kidnapped me and my sister to Egypt. It was all over the news. My dad went to prison. I didn't see him for 9 years. So I just grew up with my mum and my sister, about 25 miles out of central London, just north of London. I was a really happy kid. I was really popular in school. I was like the best football player and stuff like that. So I had a great upbringing, despite like the kind of trauma with my dad. I had like a good, happy upbringing, always playing football with my friends.
I think our mothers are very alike in the sense that, like, we spoke a little bit about this, but like my mom also, it's all heart, and I think with leadership as well, you need, like, I inherited my dad's like work ethic and discipline, but in terms of my heart, I inherited her heart. And I think in today's world, even in the work you're in, it's so important to lead with your heart, right? Because that's how you make connections, that's how you build relationships. Right? So how did you, like, it's so interesting for me because now I'm picturing Jessie, okay, in like the middle of like Butiama, in like this like what do you call it, in this house, right? And like, how did you connect with the girls there when you had no, and this is before you started learning the language, like you get there, like in my head I'm like, how did you communicate with them? I watched your videos and I watched some of your lives, and you were speaking very, very well.
Thank you.
And like, I wonder, just as someone who also speaks a few languages, like, what do you think it was that like got you to get that good so quickly?
Well, I've seen so many people say like, oh, I want to learn the language, but I can't. It's so hard. And I just think it's a case that they're not trying hard enough. Fortunately for me, like, I'm like surrounded by Swahili, like with the girls every day, and they're kids, so they're just like talking to me in Swahili. Even if I don't understand, they just keep talking, and I have to make myself understand. If I want to be able to have relationships with them and be able to communicate with them, then I need to learn it. So it was really easy for me. I think it's such an easy language. Like, I speak Spanish, and although Spanish and English, like, there are a lot of similarities, a lot of words are very similar, and Swahili is from a completely different family, it's from the Bantu family, right? I just think it's so much easier. It's so much more logical. Past tense, future tense is so easy. There's no masculine and feminine. It's just for he, she. It's so easy. So yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with your attitude as well. I think because I mentor a lot of youth, and I speak to so many people, and I think we get in our own way, right? Like, I think we constantly, sometimes we are constantly looking for the obstacles, and we're always like, oh, we can't do this because. But like, from what I take from you, you just kind of threw yourself into the place, everything, and you just went for it, right?
To be honest, it's probably more of what you're saying. It's probably more about like my perseverance and my attitude rather than my actual like natural abilities. I care about the girls so much, and I know how important communication is, especially like when it's like serious conversations where they're like telling me their stories of like, their really horrific stories. It's just so necessary to be able to understand them in their language. And there's actually a funny story on the language, because most of the girls in the safe house are Kuria. They're from the Kuria tribe. And we have a couple like Sukuma and stuff like that, but most are Kuria. And some of them, like, Maisha ya Kijijin, some of them are like really like village girls. So they come and they don't speak any Swahili. They just speak Kuria. So like, I teach them Swahili. Like I'm teaching Tanzanians Swahili. It's crazy, and I need to take a video of that because it would be a good watch. But
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And you know, the reason I asked you about the language and everything is because you had a pretty unconventional way of like coming here, right? Like when you came to Tanzania, like what happened? Like how did you get here? Like how did you meet these girls? How did you find the safe house? Like why don't you tell us the story?
It's probably like my most asked question, like how did you start or whatever. So I had already been on the continent. I was in Malawi for 6 months, doing many things, teaching English, teaching football, and I was also fighting against child marriage there with Teresa Kachindamoto. Don't know if you've heard of her, but she's like a really kind of high profile in Malawi. And then I went back to the UK, and I was like researching about FGM, and I had met with like a few Somali activists in the UK who have been through FGM, and so I was learning about it, and I was like sat on my phone in my flat in London, like, I don't know, kind of miserable. And I was thinking, why am I researching about this on my phone? Why don't I research with my eyes and you know, actually go there? So I just booked, I did a tiny bit of research. I don't really like doing research. I did a tiny bit of research for about 5 minutes, looked at a map of Tanzania and like looked at, it was like an FGM map, like where FGM is like, has the highest prevalence in Tanzania. And this map showed me Arusha. So I just booked I booked a 1 month ticket to Arusha, Kilimanjaro, and I booked an Airbnb for a month, and I just flew there. And my intention was, with my iPhone, just like go and meet people and interview them and record it, write things down. And the whole idea was that I was going to get all of this information firsthand and then go back to England and package all of this information up somehow. And like, I don't know, send it off to government, like kind of branches of the government or businesses, and try and get funding to set up my own organization to fight against FGM. But when I was there in Arusha, well, on my first day, my Airbnb host said to me, like, why are you here? You said you're not going to climb Kilimanjaro. You don't want to do this. You don't like, what are you doing? And I told her, I said, I want to find out about FGM and child marriage. And she was like, oh, you have to meet my friend Masai. And I was like, his name is Masai? She's like, no, but I don't even know his name, but I just call him Masai because he's Masai. And he came, she phoned him, he came to the house, and like I was speaking to him, and he was telling me like, oh, my family back in the village, they do this, they do that. And I was like, okay, I'm enjoying speaking to you, but you keep referring to your family in the village, like let's go and meet them. So we went and met them, and they're the people like in that video that you saw that went viral. And I met them a couple of times. And so then I'd been in Arusha for like 2 weeks, and I'd like interviewed a few people and found a few things out, but I was still feeling a bit like, oh my God, this is such like an uphill battle. Like I'm right at the foot of the mountain here, like literally like Kilimanjaro. Yeah. But and I was just feeling a bit down. And then I was speaking to one of my friends on WhatsApp. I was in the car. I was like driving back to Arusha I was in a place called Monduli. And I was telling my friend like, oh, like I'm feeling a bit down and I feel like I'm getting nowhere. And she just sent me 5 links of like different organizations in Tanzania, like local organizations that are fighting against child marriage and FGM. And the first one I clicked on, I was like scrolling on the website, and like I recognized the faces on there, like the face of this like mama on there. Like I was like, I know her. How do I know her? And then I saw pictures of these girls, and I was like, oh my God. So I saw a short trailer for a movie about a year prior to this moment of these girls, and they're like singing songs about FGM, and they had all like been taken away from their situations and put in a safe house. And so then there I was like a year or two later in Arusha, like looking at their faces on this website, and I scrolled to the bottom and I found the phone number for her name is Mama Robbie. Her name is Robbie Samweli. And she founded the organization called Hope for Girls and Women in Tanzania. And I just sent her a long message on WhatsApp like, I love you, I love what you do, I'm here in Tanzania, I really want to meet you, I want to meet the girls. And she just sent a simple message back saying, you're welcome to come and stay at my house in Musoma, and you can meet the girls for 1 week. So I got the next flight out from Kilimanjaro to Mwanza, and then she met me at Mwanza, and we went to the safe house. And it was amazing, and like I was meeting the girls that I had seen in this video like a year or two before, And there's a song that they sing at the end of the video called Freedom is Coming. It's like, freedom is coming. And I asked them to sing that song for me, and I was crying, and it was amazing. And the week finished, and I said to them, I don't want to leave. And they said to me, we don't want you to leave either. So I just stayed, and I stayed for a couple more months, and I was like teaching them English and Spanish and football and boxing, and I was just learning about them, listening to their stories, and just being close to them and helping them like fetch water and all these things. And and then I went back to England, and then obviously I've been back here in Tanzania since then. But that's how it started.
You know, it's such a beautiful story. It's almost like you manifested it, right? Like it's almost like you like, you know, you said you had that video up on your Instagram, and like I saw it had like 40,000 views, you know, and then like a year later you're there, right? So you know what's interesting is like the work you do, it's you're young, you know, it's very different. Like, you know, I mentioned a lot of your friends, I'm sure they're saving up for a house, or they're planning a future or a holiday. Your path is not traditional, it's very unconventional, right? So first of all, like, what motivated you to do something so different and so risky?
I think like I could give that like a long answer, and I could complicate it, but I really don't like complicating things. The simple answer to that question is right is right and wrong is wrong. And like there's so much injustice happening all over the world, but I'm just one man and I can't be everywhere. But this is what I've chosen as my cause that I want to help. And I just feel like, you know, we're on this planet, I don't know what the population is now, 8 billion or something like that, right? And like we're all gonna die, and like why aren't we helping each other more? You know, it's not like, I'm not saying people have to give everything they have to people, but when your life is really comfortable, and then there are other people, like for example young girls who are being forced into a child marriage with an old man, and they're being raped every night, or they're having their genitals mutilated. It's like, you don't need to go and buy those coffees you buy in Starbucks that cost like $10 every day. Like, why don't you just save up a bit of that money and like put it to good use? Or it's not necessarily just about the money, it's the time as well. But I've now waffled on, but the simple answer is right and wrong is wrong. And I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I knew like I was just kind of not really doing anything to like help these people, you know?
So Jesse, I get this, like I understand, and I think this is something that it's a good conversation to have, that why is it that there's people like you who wake up with this mindset, and then there's people who don't, like they think about, okay, I need to save like, you know, 100 pounds this month so I can go on holiday, or what is it about you that makes you feel like this? And the reason I'm asking is because genuinely I'm so curious. I think that this could help people, you know, really like look inside and search, because that's what we want, right? We want more people to wake up, right?
God, I probably don't have a good enough answer for this question. It's just in me. I like I said, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I knew I wasn't doing everything I can. And I don't have much going on in my life anyway. Like I don't own anything. I just have my clothes and myself, and so it's not like I'm really missing out on anything. And I've lived a good life. I've lived in America. I've lived in the UK. I'm from the UK. You know, I'm fortunate. I've lived in Barcelona. I've experienced really good things in life. So I've partied and I've had fun, and I don't need to do that kind of stuff anymore. You know, and once I met the girls and built up that connection, even just within that first week of meeting them, that was it. That was like my life signed away now to them. I just totally fell in love with them and the cause and the fight, and I tattooed it on my skin, you know, Piga Vito Kekitaji, like fight against FGM. So yeah.
No, it's, you know, I'm trying to get an answer from you, because genuinely speaking, like, this is what this podcast is about. I want people to wake up. I feel like so many people are asleep. They get up every day, they do the same stuff, autopilot, and then they complain about their lives, and then they just, it's like they're so lost you know. And you know, for me, I wake up every day and I genuinely just want to help people, okay, in whatever way I can, okay. Yes, I sit behind a computer a lot, and I'm trying to balance as much as I can, but I genuinely wake up with my purpose is that I just want to make a bit of a difference, right? So I think it has a lot to do with attachment.
Yeah.
I think that the problem is that we've unfortunately, human beings have attached themselves so much to their title, to who they are, to their things, to stuff, to material things. And there's a very beautiful quote by Imam Ali, and he says that you know, detachment is not that you don't own things, it's that those things should not own you. And I think the problem is that we've these days, people are just these things, they're becoming a slave to the things around them, right? And then it becomes so hard to just fulfill your purpose or like find a purpose, you know, when you're so attached to things that are fleeting, that will never truly make you happy. When I speak to you, I can feel it. Like we've talked about this, I do have a very strong sixth sense, and I'm very intuitive, and I feel that you're very happy. Like you're excited to go tomorrow. You're excited to go to a village where you're gonna be not staying in the best conditions, right? And that you're not used to that. You know, you're used to a different kind of lifestyle, right? But you're so happy and you're so excited, right? So this is what I want. Like I want people to understand that, you know, it's sometimes it's this kind of finding this purpose, sitting with yourself and maybe like, you know, sitting and trying to understand like who you are and what you want and what is actually gonna bring you that joy. And it's usually not, it's usually a purpose that's bigger than you. It has to be something bigger than you. Right?
For sure.
Because I'm sure you've gone through challenges where you're like, oh, you know, either I don't have money, or, you know, maybe I'm low on this, or you've experienced some difficulties, but you know that your purpose is beyond you. It's about the girls now. Right?
I always just find a way. Like I said before, you know, I'm not trying to give like a sob story here, but I grew up like the poorer end of like middle class in England, you know, like my mum couldn't afford to buy me the new football boots that I wanted, you know. But I'm not trying to say that we really struggled, you know, there was always food on the table. But I think because I grew up that way and I was never like attached to things, then it's just stuck with me. And I'm what I call like a real human being. Like I love realness and the truth and reality, and I don't like fake people. I can't deal with fake people. I don't even speak to them. So like the pure real human connection that I have with the girls, or that I have with anyone, me and you know, we've now built up a real friendship. It just means so much, and like that's what we take with us, you know, and or wherever we go, that's what is meaningful.
No, and this is what I'm saying. I feel like you found a purpose that's bigger than you, and you know, I believe that even when you go through hell in life, if the purpose is bigger than you, you'll find a way. And you'll find a way, because now it's beyond just you. It's like you have a responsibility now towards something that's so much greater. Right?
Definitely. And I kind of thrive off that responsibility. I don't know. Like I said earlier about like I grew up like very protective of my mom and my sister, and you know, in the past when I've had like a girlfriend or something, I'm always very protective, and I think I quite enjoy that role, you know. I'm like quite a masculine man, and so being the protector of these girls when I'm with them, I enjoy it. I like it, you know. That's like my role, you know. And it's not, I don't want people to listen to that and get confused and think that I'm trying to be a superhero or like a Superman for them. It's not that at all. If I am that, then okay, then I'm not gonna like deny it. But I don't do what I do for the intention of like being their superhero. But I mean, imagine if you're like a young girl and then some man just comes and pulls you out of an awful situation, or like prevents you from having your genitals mutilated. Like, of course you're gonna kind of really look up to him, and the role of like protector and protectee, like it fits.
I don't know why you are you are not saying what it is. It is just that you are a superhero. And I think and I think the problem these days is that it's a problem, like, to say that.
Exactly,
because
yeah.
Unfortunately, this world has become a bit confusing, where men are not real men anymore, right?
This could open up a whole can of worms here. I'm happy to do that.
I know, but I think it's important we do touch on it. I think that
I do as well.
that unfortunately what is happening is that the world is now starting to redesign, the man and the woman. And what you're doing is very admirable, because you're going out there and you're physically and actually putting yourself in situations like this, where to the world now sometimes it's confusing, because they're like, what, like, this is weird, why is he putting himself in danger? And also the masculinity of men is starting to deteriorate as time goes on, right?
Like, nowadays, who knows if someone is a man or a woman, in my country anyway. Like, if you say to someone, "Excuse me, miss," they'll be like, "Did you just assume my gender?" Like, mate, come on. Like,
do you feel like that this is maybe one of the reasons where people are getting they're getting lost, and they cannot really find a purpose because of stuff like this? It could be one of the reasons why people cannot actually sit and find a purpose, because they're busy, like, trying to figure out what they are.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question. Possibly, yeah. I do think, though, that on this particular case, there are enough positive male role models in the world, like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
He's an incredible role model for not just young men, women as well. But he's a great role model for young men, and there are other people as well. So I think a lot of people will try and find excuses within themselves, and they won't even say it. But that, even me just trying to think about this, I'm confused for these people, thinking about this. I think the less advanced a place, the kind of the poorer a country, the more people revert back to their normal gender roles. So in the UK and America is modern day feminism is coming along or has come along and is telling women they need to be competing with men, you need to be the CEO and you need to employ the men and stuff like that. And without getting too much into that, but over here I know Africa's a huge continent, there's 54 countries, but generally speaking, I think over here in Africa it's a lot more no, this is a man's role and this is a woman's role. And a lot of women that I've met here in Tanzania and Malawi and Zambia and Kenya, they just want to be soft, feminine women, and they just want to have kids and be married and be happy. But if you say that as a woman in the UK, and you have so many people coming after you, oh, what? So you don't believe in feminism? What do you think, men are superior? And it's no, I just want to be a mum. But you can't even say that these days in my country.
And I think it is important that we do have this conversation, and I think we should actually, I'll invite you, we'll have an entire podcast on this.
Sure.
Because that I share very similar views to you. Being a working woman, I've been working for 13 years since I graduated university, but modern day feminism, I don't understand it. I think that it's ruining this world.
Yeah.
I think that, as a woman, there is beauty in being a woman. There's beauty in having that, we're nurturers. I've seen relationships fail because a woman is fighting her husband because of this, equality, that it's almost like you're ruining relationships over something that I don't even think you truly want. It's you doing it because that's what you're supposed to be doing,
And they pick and choose when when they want to be a feminist, They'll if someone breaks into the house at night, they're just going to look straight to the husband, or you go down there and you fight the burglar. Well, what happened to feminism? I thought we were equals, So they pick and choose when they want to be feminists and when they want to be a soft woman. So
no, but I will invite you again, because I think that we should have this conversation, especially because you are young, and I think that we need to also be bold and share our views on this. But I want to talk a little bit about, because this podcast is about self-love, and a lot of these girls, they don't even, like, they grew up in families where, it's very difficult to love yourself when you're surviving, like when you're actually, like, you're, first of all, as a girl, when you're born, I think the parents now, they just want to, like, kind of marry them off, like, it's like, take them, they don't want them anymore, right? And on top of that, now they're cutting them, right? So can you tell me a story or a moment where, like, you saw the power of self-love, and, like, maybe what you had to do with it?
One that comes to mind, I think this is an example of self-love. There's a young girl in the safe house called Robbie. There's loads of girls called Robbie, but there's one, she's 13, and she came kind of new, like, she came after me, and she was really quiet. She didn't really speak to many people, and nobody actually knew her story. Like, when the girls first come to the safe house, they obviously tell their story to, like, the staff and the matron, but they don't have to, like, tell the girls, and the girls know that they can't persist and ask a new girl for her story, because it could obviously, like, make them really upset and stuff. So no one knew her story, but I really wanted to know her story. I wanted to know, why does she just sit there and she doesn't really talk to people? Like, what did she go through? And can we help her? So one day I was with Maria, the head girl, and I said, Maria, do you think we can, like, see what Robbie is thinking? Not necessarily, like, find out her story. And I had checked with the, like, safe house staff that, like, is it okay if I try and ask, like, about her story? And they said, yeah. So we went over to her, like, all the girls were kind of sat in one place, and me and Maria went over to Robbie. And we were just talking, like, what you're thinking and stuff like that. And she wasn't really saying much. And then Maria said to her, Robbie, do you want to tell us your story? Maybe we can help you. So she told us her story, and it was really, really sad. She put every single detail in it, like, so I won't tell the whole story, but basically the dad was abusing the mum, and the mum ran away, and so the dad went to Robbie, 13 years old Robbie, and said, your mother has run away, she is denying me, so now you are my wife. So he said, you will sleep in my bed tonight. So and he was raping her, like, for a good few weeks. And she's telling me the story, and she's crying, and I'm crying, and Maria's crying, and it's like I was, like, wiping away the tears, and they just keep coming, and I was so touched by her story, and I've got goosebumps now, like, thinking about it. And when she finished telling her story, I said, Robbie, we were sat on chairs, and I said, Robbie, stand up, can I give you a hug? And because hugs are powerful, and I just wanted her to feel, like, loved and safe. I wanted her to feel safe, because fathers are supposed to protect young girls, but her only experience of a father is of him raping her. So I wanted to show her that, like, not all men are like that, and you're here with me, and you're safe with me. And I told her that. So we hugged, and sometimes you do long hugs, and maybe they last, like, 30 seconds. That's quite a long hug. This hug literally lasted 20 minutes, like, no exaggeration. And about 2 minutes into the hug, Maria then, like, it was like a three-way hug, we're all hugging each other, and, like, all the other girls are, like, watching us, and they're kind of, like, upset as well, like, some of them are crying. And I was crying so much while I was hugging Robbie, and she was saying to me, like, in Swahili, but she was saying to me, don't worry, Jesse, it's fine, I'm okay. And I think that's maybe a sign of self-love, because, like, she's the one who went through this, and she was, like, she finished crying way before I did, and she wiped one of my tears away, and she was like, don't worry, Jesse, don't be upset, it's okay, as if I was the one who got raped, So I feel like for her to be able to do that, it takes so much strength, and she's probably looked within herself. All of the time she was not talking to anyone, she's probably just talking to herself, and just telling herself that, like, it's okay, what happened, and I'm here now, and I'm fine. So that might be a good case of self-love.
Yeah. Imagine the resilience, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, just from going, like, from a situation, and I think that's the beauty of what you do. these girls are so powerless, and they're scared and traumatized, and like they come to this safe house, and that's exactly, it's safety. I think as children, like that's all we want, right, from our parents. We want safety, and when you're denied that, it and if it's not taken care of, you can you become a very unsafe adult. It leads to a lot of mental health issues. It leads to a lot of issues with your body, right? So having that, like, it's amazing. What a beautiful thing.
I know, it's like by far the most like touching, powerful moment of my life. I'll never forget that, and I can't wait to see her tomorrow.
But I've seen some of your videos, and you actually you have so much fun with these girls. Like you do so many things together. So how do you empower them, like when you're there, like, because they're girls, and obviously they unfortunately they've taught to feel disempowered. They've taught that they don't have control of their lives. So you're there, how do you empower them? How do you teach them to love themselves?
Okay, so there was one time where, so we always go and play football on the field close to the safe house. And one day I was just feeling really tired, so I didn't go and play football with them. They went with a couple of the female members of staff of the safe house. And they came back really early. I was with the babies at the safe house, and they came back really early. It's they went for 10 minutes and they came back. Usually we're there for 2 hours. And they all had their heads down like this, and I was like, what happened? And I said, what happened? And they said to me, the boys that play on the field, they were saying loads of abusive things to us. And I got so angry, so I was just right. So I just got out of my chair, and I started to go to the field, and they all kind of held me back, Jesse, don't do that, you're just going to get in a fight and it will be really bad, and then we'll never be able to play football there again. So I listened to them. I didn't go, but then I sat them all down. I listened to exactly what happened, and these boys, they're not young boys, they're 20, 18 to 25, and I know who they are. I see them, and I've had several run-ins with them. And so I found out exactly what they were saying. They were saying things like, you are just you're prostitutes, you're daughters of prostitutes, your parents don't love you, they've rejected you, and stuff. Just saying these horrible things. And obviously the girls aren't antagonizing them. I know them. The girls just want to play football. So I sat the girls down and said, girls, right, I think you've been taught to, this is again going back to the best form of defense is attack. But I didn't teach them to go and insult them back, but I taught them don't let people walk all over you, because any bully, so those boys are bullies, and any bully in that kind of situation, when he smells fear or she smells fear, then they just get more encouraged, and they just keep bullying more and more and more. And so I told them next time we go to the field, obviously I'm coming with you, and I'm gonna go and speak to those boys, but even without me, you guys need to be strong. And as far as I knew, there was no threat of actual violence, so it was okay. But you guys need to be strong, and if they're saying things to you, just laugh at them instead of walking away and being really negative. Just laugh at them, or maybe give them one tiny little insult or something like that. But don't leave the field. Keep playing and be happy. And so I teach them to be strong, basically, and
No, it's amazing, because I also saw videos of you teaching them how to drive and
and box. I teach them how to box.
But this is the beauty, I think, through all this, through these small actions, you're teaching them to love themselves, because we take self-love for granted, right? You're talking about these girls who literally were born, and then the intention of the parents is just, here you're nothing now, right? So it's so amazing that you're able to cultivate that, and sometimes I think sometimes I'm very soft in my we've had this conversation, I'm too soft sometimes. I don't like confrontation. I'm oh, let's just all sit and talk about it and sort it out. But in situations like this, you can't always be soft, right? You have to speak up.
You have to stand up to the bully, or stand up to the oppression. And there's cases of that all throughout history. You have to stand up and fight sometimes. So
I think you've seen a lot of comments where people are oh, the work you do, it's so fulfilling. What do you feel about that?
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. I get thousands of messages on TikTok and Instagram, like you said, oh, I love what you do. It must be so fulfilling. I want to do it. Oh, I hate it so much because that just completely says that the person sending that message is just thinking about themselves and what going to Africa to help people can do for them. And I always tell people, like, it's not about us, it's not about me or you, it's just about the girls. So if that's merely just come into your head, like, oh, I want to go and like help Jesse do what he does because it's going to fulfill me, it's going to be so, like, you're already on the wrong track, and I don't want you anywhere near me, and I don't want you anywhere near my girls, you know. Like, I don't even think about that. It's not fulfilling, actually, to me. It's not well, I don't know, but I don't even put myself in the frame when it comes to that. Like, I just delete that from my brain. It's just about the girls.
The reason I'm saying this is because people might not understand that right now. So I feel like, you know, maybe a softer approach, okay, would, and we've had this conversation, and the reason I'm saying this is because, you know, we want more people to wake up and like open their eyes and do things that are going to make a difference, and they're going to actually like you know, change this world, right? Thinking that, okay, this work is fulfilling, and trying to look for something that's fulfilling. I think it's a cry for help, genuinely. I think a lot of these people, they you know, they're numb, especially in the West.
They want to run away from their average or bad lives. Don't
you feel like sometimes that's what it is?
I've only thought about that now, sat here speaking with you. I haven't thought about that before, but that fits.
So I think you know, if you had some advice for someone who feels unfulfilled, for example, right, what would you say to them, like, if they wanna come and help you out, like, how could they do it?
I'm very picky about who I let around myself, let alone the girls, you know. That, can you imagine? So, because I've had experiences of there was a girl from England who came over to the safe house. She reached out to me through Instagram, and she had been in Africa herself, like in another country, like kind of volunteering for a month. And I didn't get, in hindsight now, I realize I didn't give it enough thought, because she came for a week, and like she was just so bad with the girls, like didn't do anything bad to them, but she just didn't give them enough attention. She was always on her phone. And like, even when it was like her last day, the girls were like doing a dance for her and a song, and she was just like on her phone, like on her TikTok and stuff. And I said to her, like, yo, the girls are dancing for you, like, watch them. So that's just like that's not even like a very bad case of like bringing someone in and being around the girls. So it's hard like to let people in. I know I was given the chance and I got let in. And I'm really thankful to Mama Robbie and everyone at the safe house who let me in.
But I think it's also that you actually did take the chance and you flew out here and you figured it out. Right? Like I said to you the other day, you know, like I said, loads of people message me and say, hey, I want to help. And in my head, I'm like, all right, if you're going to come here and help, you need to be on the same level as me. So don't be messaging me from England. Fly to Tanzania first, then message me. And people worry that I'm not going to get back to their messages. If you really want to get hold of someone, you can, like, you'll do your own research or just comment on all my videos, and eventually I'm going to see the comment, even if it means you have to wait in Tanzania for like a few weeks before I get back to you. That's the risk you have to take. Then I'm going to see, like, okay, yeah, this person is really about it, you know, like, as Americans say. But then, like you said, I think I know what you might say here, like, Jesse, you need to be a bit more chilled out and, like, you know, maybe give people a chance. But it's hard. I think a lot of people don't actually put themselves in my shoes enough, because I need to be kind of careful about what I say here. But I've been in really dangerous situations, you know, and physical, violent conflict.
so like I've been through a lot, you know. My life's been at risk. I've nearly died several times on this continent doing what I do. So like there's too much at risk.
No, but I think that's good. So put it in perspective. Yeah, why don't you tell us a story about a time where you did put your life at risk, and maybe that will that will sum things up better.
All right.
Yeah,
the best story is in Malawi, actually, so not Tanzania, but same problem, child marriage. There's no FGM in Malawi, but there's child marriage. So I was coaching a football team, and after training I was packing up the footballs and the cones and stuff, and two of the boys were like waiting around, like kind of watching me. And there are two brothers, the goalkeeper, Alec, he was 20, and Kalima, he was 17. And I was like, what's up, boys? And they both speak good English, because my Chichewa wasn't very good at that point. And they said to me, Jesse, we know that like when you're not coaching us, you're fighting against child marriage. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, our sister is in a child marriage, but like we don't know what to do. Can you help us? And I was like, oh my God, of course. Like, where is she? And they told me everything, and I said, all right, let's go. And they laughed at me. They were like, Jesse, we can't just go and get her. And I was like, why not? Maybe I was a bit naive. And so then Malawi is slightly different to Tanzania from my experience of Tanzania. In Malawi, there's like real chiefdom. Like there's chiefs in every village. I haven't really come across that in Tanzania.
So after Nyerere came into power, he kind of abolished tribalism. So he removed the tribal heads.
Okay.
This is why it's probably...
Yeah. So in Malawi, like everything goes through the chief. If we wanted to play a football match in another village, we had to ask the chief of that village if we have permission to enter that village. So anyway, the boy said to me, right, Jesse, let's speak to our village chief and all the elders in the village and blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to bore you with like a really long story here, but we spoke and people were telling me, Jesse, you have to go to the police first. So reluctantly, the next day I went to the police with the two boys, the mum of the boys. So like I'm driving in my truck. I had a pickup truck, and I've got like 5 people in the bed of the truck, and the 2 brothers and the mom and stuff. And they're like, Jesse, stop. And I was like, why? We're going to the police station. And I didn't know where it was. And they're like, it's here. And I was like, well, I can't see a police station. And it's there by the tree. So the police station was just a tree. Like the police officers just sat on plastic chairs under the tree, taking in the shade. Nothing. It was just in the middle of a village. So I like get out the car, and like there's like 1,000 eyes on me. I'm like the only white man, in this whole area, or non-black person. And the 2 police officers are like sat on their plastic chairs, like leaning back, smoking. And like we walk up to them, and in Malawi, here how people say shikamo, marahaba. In Malawi, there's 5 minutes of that. There's 5 minutes of shikamo, and I can't stand it. It's just get to the point, So they're doing this whole like talk and respecting, and I like try and shake the hands of the officers, and they just looked at my hand and like looked at each other and laughed. Like they had zero respect for me. So already I was like really annoyed. We explained the situation to them, and the police officers just laughed, because they were like, you think we're going to go to that village where the girl is? Because they had told the police officers where the girl is. Like she wasn't in a child marriage in our village. She had been taken to a different village. And I didn't know about this other village, but the police officers told us that the last time one of our officers went to that village, he was stoned to death by the locals. Like he said, like, we don't go there anymore. We can't go to that village. It's just like lawless, they just kill police officers. So like we had like a fairly long conversation, and I was really frustrated, and I said, okay, so like, are you going to go and get the girl? And I knew that they weren't going to go, but they lied to me. They said, oh, we'll go on Monday. And I was like, why Monday? I think the day was like a Thursday or a Friday. And they were like, well, now it's the weekend, and on the weekend we don't work. And I said, well, it seems like during the week you don't bloody work either. Anyway, so I was like pissed off, and I left there. And I went back on the Monday, and I hated waiting that long, because I was just thinking, like, she's in a child marriage. She's probably like being raped, having like unconsensual sex. So we went back the Monday, and my friends again, they started with the whole 5 minutes of like shikamo, and I was like, forget that. are you going to go and get the girl? I know you lied to me. I know you're not going to go and get the girl. So what's happening? And they were like, look, Mzungu. They say Mzungu too, which for those who don't speak Swahili means white man, right? They said, look, white man, we're not going to that village. And I said, okay, fine, don't say anything else. I'm going to go and get her. Am I going to get in trouble with you guys? And they were like, no, but I mean, good luck. And I just said, okay, bye. So like we left, and I wanted to go right away, but my friends were like, no, just you need to wait until night. You know, it's just like safer. And I didn't really see how it was safer at night, but I gathered up about 7 guys who, some of them were my football players who were aged like 22, 23. Some of them were just kind of like, I just found the biggest guys in the village that I could find and gave them all pangas and machetes and this. And we went to the village, left the weapons in the car because I didn't want to come out like really aggressive. And there's instantly like a crowd of about 100 people like around us. Like it's really rural, you know, no electricity, pitch black at night. It's like 11 p.m. at night. And I imagine most of these people have never seen like a non-African person before. And I'm walking into this kind of like a circle had been formed, and I'm like walking towards it, and there's like a really short old man with grey hair and a walking stick, and everyone's like showing him loads of respect. And Kalima and Alec, the 2 boys, my football players, they like kind of had their heads down, and I was like, what's going on? And they were like, that's our granddad. And I was like, well, your granddad, who is he? And they're like, he's the chief of this village. I was like, hold on, your granddad is the chief of the village that your sister is in a child marriage, and you didn't tell me that? And they're like, we thought that if we told you that he is our granddad and he's the chief of this village, then you wouldn't take us seriously. Like you would think, oh, it's like a family issue. And I was like, no, boys, like, of course I'm still going to help you. Anyway, there's no time for that. So I said, the chief said, he was like welcoming. He was like, oh, hi, Mzungu. Like, why are you here? Like, what's up? It's late at night. And I said, hi, yeah, I've just found out that it's your granddaughter, but these boys' sister is in a child marriage in your village. And he said, who? Which girl? And her name is Felicia. And he said, oh, she's happy, leave her. And I was like, she was 13 and the man was 33. And I was like, what do you mean she's happy, leave her? Because child marriage is illegal in Malawi, just like Tanzania, it's illegal, but like it still happens. And I said, it's illegal, and he just laughed at me like, legal schmiegel, you know, like doesn't mean anything kind of thing. So I said to him, okay, look, I've come all this way, I'm not leaving here without the girl, so whatever happens is going to happen. Boys, do you know where the house is? They're like, yeah. So now there's like way more than 100 people, there's like hundreds of people here. So pitch black at night, and I was using my phone torch, and they said to me, Jesse, like put your phone away because someone's just going to snatch it out of your hand. So I put my phone away in my pocket, it's pitch black. We left all the weapons in the car. I didn't want to use weapons, you know, I just thought, well, I don't know what I thought. Yeah. So we're like walking, and it's like awful terrain, you know, like big rocks everywhere and pitch black. Walking through this village, and there's like hundreds of people behind us. And I looking back in hindsight, I remember a really young kid, like 5 years old, sprinted past me. He brushed my leg as he sprinted past me. And we got to the house, and I saw that little kid, and he was like pulling on the shirt of like an older guy, and he was like pulling on the shirt and pointing at me. So this kid was like in Ireland they say tout, snitch. Yeah. So this kid had like run and snitched on the husband or the house where the girl was, and told him like, look, the white man is coming like to get the girl. So anyway, we get to the house, and there's like maybe 7 or 8 men with pangas like standing outside the door, like looking all like mean and strong and stuff. And I had a girl with me, she was, well, a woman, she was like 23, her name's Clara, and she was like really big and strong and really well educated and really good English. And she said to me, Jesse, if you go in there, you're just going to die, so let me go in there and see if Felicia is in there. So she went in, and about 2 minutes later, she popped her head out the corner and just like winked at me, so I knew that Felicia was in there. And a lot of these people didn't speak English, and I knew that, like, so I was able to speak to Clara in English without really anybody understanding what we were saying. So I said to Clara, right, Clara, quick time, like, grab her and we're leaving. Clara, like, grabbed her, the door was shut, but I heard Clara shout, Jesse, I've got her, but she's not leaving without her things. She needs to, like, grab her things. And I was like, tell her there's no effing time for that, you know, like, we need to go, because it was already getting really, like, hostile, you know. people were like shouting in my ear, like, and I was trying to ignore them. Anyway, next thing I know, bang, like get a punch, I'm on the floor. And it was like pitch black, and then like I'm like wrestling with someone on the floor. There's pangas everywhere, and I'm like, you know, pretty worried. And I'm like fighting this guy on the floor. Someone's like kicking me as well. It's like a crazy fight. Like, and I couldn't even see who or what was hitting me. I got you can see this scar here, but like I got a slash here. And anyway, so. I'm like on the floor, there's like dirt in my face, and it was just like I'd been hit a few times, and I see Clara like holding like a young person with a hood up, and I had just imagined that was Felicia, and I was like getting hit, and I was like, Clara, have you got her? And she's like, yeah, run, Jesse. So like I kind of like looked around, and all my team, like I say my team, but just, you know, we weren't like an official team or anything. They had all started running and kind of like left me behind, but they knew I could like run fast. So yeah, we're all like running now. We've got the girl, and they're all like, I look behind me, and there's like literally 25-30 guys with pangas like chasing me. And it's so crazy. You know, in movies, when you watch movies and someone's running away from something and then they trip over and you're like, oh, that's so fake. It happened to me, like, because there's these big boulders on the floor and I couldn't see, and I tripped, and like obviously I got straight back up. Not like the movies, I didn't sit there for like 2 minutes. But they were really close to me. They were about like 10 meters behind me, and like 100% they would have killed me. You know, if they had guns, they would have shot me. So I was trying to find the car keys in my pocket. I couldn't find them, and I was like, I was obviously swearing, but I was like, guys, where are the keys? And one of my friends said, I've got them. So I said, start the engine. He's like, Jesse, I don't know how to drive. I was like, start the, you know. So like, and so they all like jumped in the back, and he handed me the keys, and I quickly turned the car on. But it's really bad terrain, so I couldn't drive away quickly. There's like big boulders, you know, like big potholes, and so we're driving away, smash brick or stone through my window, but not my seat, behind me, the seat behind me, and the glass went in the eye of one of my friends, and he was like in agony. He was like, oh, I'm blind, you know, like, and then like about 10 seconds later, smash another stone through the back of my truck glass. But eventually, you know, we got away, but yeah, that was like the scariest, worst.
It sounds like a movie.
Literally, I wish I like had a camera crew, you know, filming that. But obviously that's not realistic to have a camera crew in that situation. No. Like no cameraman's gonna stand there, you know, like that. But
you know, I think the thing is that people don't really understand how you live, like in the villages. Yeah. So can you just like explain to us like how you live, how you eat, like just like take us like just through the day?
Yeah, well, it's ugali every day for lunch, and rice and beans for dinner. Yeah. So like minimal nutrients. I always lose loads of weight when I'm over there, which I hate, you know. It's too hot for me. Even like people, I know here Dar is hotter, but even over there it's like too hot for me. You know, I'm English. I like the cold. My life over there is like so. I don't want to say like I'm famous, but everyone knows me over there. You know, like everyone is watching my every move. If I go to the market to buy tomatoes, everyone in the village knows Jesse went to buy tomatoes. Like it's like all eyes on me all the time. You know, I get like disturbed all the time. Like people are always like coming up to me and just kind of like annoying me. You know. Sometimes it's nice, like not nice being annoyed, but sometimes people come with like good intentions. But a lot of the time, like if I go to the market, people always grab my arm, like, and I always like push them off me. And a couple of times I've pushed someone a bit too hard and they've fallen down, and then there's a big scene. It's like, oh, Jesse's fighting, and it's like, I'm not fighting, it's just he grabbed me and I pushed him. So yeah, life over there is like, it's really rural, you know, like I'm sure many of your listeners have maybe been to like Musoma, but even in Musoma, the capital city of Mara region, there's no supermarket, you know, like, or at least not a real supermarket. And I'm not even in Musoma. I'm in like a small village near Butiama, or in Butiama district. And it's really, really rural, you know, like, some of the villages around there don't really have electricity, or if they do, like it always goes out, and water is such a big problem. Like
I've seen you driving to like get buckets of water.
Yeah, so there's one, like, I don't even know what the right word for this in English or Swahili. There's like a place where like fresh water like comes out of the ground. It's not like a waterfall. I don't know what it is, but that is apparently drinking water. But even that water, like my friends say to me, no, Jesse, you don't drink this water. But then, like, yeah, the water to bathe in and wash the clothes, it's really dirty water. So, yeah, water's a huge problem over there. I really want to build like or dig a borehole or a well or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason I'm asking is because I think people cannot really imagine the life you're living. I think that everybody has a very different view. Like, they don't know that this is the simplicity. Like, this is the very rural life, right?
Yeah.
So it's good that you're giving people a little bit of an idea that this is the kind of life you are living. And
it's really interesting because, you know, on some of my TikToks, obviously I have a lot of followers in Tanzania, and not a lot, like I always say, I get much more love than hate, but a lot of Tanzanians comment things like, why are you only showing the poor side of Tanzania? Now you're making all your Mzungu people think that we all live like this. I'm like, yo, I don't have a responsibility to represent Tanzania in any way. I'm not employed by anyone. I haven't signed a contract with anyone. This is Tanzania, whether you like it or not. Yeah, exactly. So like, if you want to show people like the nice side of Tanzania, like Dar es Salaam or whatever, Zanzibar, and your nice hotel, you make a TikTok account and you show that. Like, I don't have a responsibility, like I said, to show Tanzania in any way. So yeah.
No, and I think what you're showing is your real life, and that's why I said, like, talk about it, because people are probably sitting in the West or even in Tanzania itself, like you said, and they're like, oh, like, this guy is just, he's probably eating great food, but then he's just posting this,
I'm not.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm so sick of ugali. Sorry, Tanzania, but like, they don't even put salt in ugali. I don't understand. Like, it's so plain.
So Jesse, basically, emotions like anger or desire, do you believe they have their place?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Anger is so necessary sometimes, like in sports or just in life, and these sayings like that we get brought up to believe in, like, violence never solves anything. It's like, shut up. So that means we should have just let Hitler continue doing what he was doing. Like, no, we had to use violence. Those soldiers needed aggression and anger, controlled, obviously. So that's an extreme example I've just given. But
I like that, because I feel like if you don't get angry, you become a coward.
Yeah, of course. And there's that famous saying that, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So, especially men, we have to be capable of doing bad things. We have to be capable of being violent, but, controlling it. And some men abuse that power. And they're bullies and they're horrible people. But yeah, aggression, anger is definitely necessary and natural. It's also natural. Like, we shouldn't try to fight natural things.
Yeah. No, the reason I'm saying this, I'm asking you this, is because I hold a very similar view. I think anger is very important. I think actually one of the most important things in life is emotional intelligence. And what that means is being able to navigate that anger. And I think you have been able to use it to your advantage to save these young girls, right? And that's beautiful. And if you didn't get angry, you'd be sitting in a corner scared. And you wouldn't have been able to save Felicia, right?
Yeah.
So
definitely.
So, okay, just let's think about the next 10 years, right? What do you want to achieve through your work?
That's a really good question. Every small win really counts for something, So some people say to me, like, oh, you're just helping on a really small scale. You're never gonna, like, abolish the actual problem. And I say, like, what kind of a stinking attitude is that? Like, if we can help one person, it's much better than helping no people. It's like so many people kind of wait around for like a big movement to happen. Is like, how do you think all these movements started in the first place? Like everything, like the suffragettes or the Black Civil Rights movement in America, and it has to start somewhere. So next 10 years, I'm just gonna, I don't know, but I would like to know, I would like to be able to look back and think, okay, I haven't just helped like a few dozen girls, I've helped thousands of girls like come away from this, and then you've got like a whole generation, a whole community where it doesn't matter if I'm getting the credit or not. It's not about me, but there's a whole community there now who their lives have been completely turned around in a positive way. So I just want to be able to look back and think, yeah, that girl, she's now president or whatever, I helped her get out of her child marriage or whatever.
You sparked the change, yeah?
Yeah.
This is why I decided to call the show Micro Moments, because I think it is about the micro moments.
Yeah.
They do build up to something amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that you need to understand the value and like the impact you're having. You know, you are impacting so many people with what you're doing. You're so inspiring. Your attitude is so inspiring. And you know, for me, I learned from you that sometimes you don't always have to be on the fence. Like you have to sometimes be very direct with what you're doing, you know, especially in the work you're doing. You know, you can't just sit around and be like, oh, it's okay, we'll take these things lightly, because it's not something light. So it's amazing, it's inspiring. You're genuinely, like, I think that in the next 10 years, I think you're going to be able to spark so much of a change and inspire so many people. And even if it is just that one girl and putting a sense of self-love in her, tomorrow she might be the one opening up an organization to help so many other girls, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I hope that happens too. And you know, the bigger I gain followers every day on TikTok, I lose followers from, like, I don't know, sharing my opinion on things. But I hope that my profile keeps growing, and because, you know, the more people that are aware of what's going on, then the higher the probability of positive change happening. So like some of my critics say, oh, like, you're just doing it for clout, you just want followers. Like, no, it's just logical, sensible thinking. The bigger my profile is, the more of an impact I'm going to have. I always say, like, if you get a big star like Diamond Platinums or, I don't know, like Drake or anyone like that, if they put the same amount of energy and effort into this cause as I am, the problem would finish like that, because of the power that they have and the money and the fame. So I hope that my profile keeps growing, and you know, doing a podcast with you is going to help and just reach more ears. So
Jesse, you're amazing, genuinely. Like, it's just been so nice hanging out with you these last 2 days. You've taught me so much too. You've opened my eyes so much, and you know, I love having conversations like this, because I learn so much, you know, and I love learning. You know,
I've learned a lot from you too.
It's been some good conversations. Some very like debatable, you know, controversial things, but I think that we're very similar in a lot of ways, you know. So
I'd like to add, because I know that you're far too humble to say this yourself, but you're amazing. And you said earlier in the podcast that, you know, you just like want to wake up and like do your bit and kind of help people, and I see that you really do. Like, you employ loads of people who, I don't know, might not have had a great opportunity to get like such a good job otherwise, and you've helped the girls. Like, you probably haven't told anyone that, but you know, you sent like a big package over to the girls, like loads of food and things like that lasted them a long time. So they were really grateful for that, and I know you want to continue helping, and so thank you so much for that.
I always think people meet for a reason, you know, and I think that when you genuinely work from a clean place in your heart and you just want to do good, you always attract those kind of people, right? So there might be haters out there, but I don't know why these days it just doesn't bug me anymore, because I always know that like I'll find amazing people, and I have been. The last like couple of years have been so beautiful because I've been meeting some great people, you know, and who are doing such just amazing, unbelievable things, you know. So
thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it.
So Jesse, we're gonna go into like the last round, which is a rapid fire round.
Sure.
So these answers are gonna be very short, like, and just very to the point.
Okay. Yeah. Just like say whatever comes into my mind, kind of thing.
If you had the power to change one thing about society, what would it be and why?
That people don't avoid the truth. People say the truth and don't get like really offended by the truth.
Okay. What's the most controversial opinion or unpopular opinion you have that you're willing to share?
That the death penalty should exist. Like child rapists should be killed, in my opinion.
What's the most valuable lesson you learned from facing opposition?
Never give up. I'm fighting the right fight.
Okay. What's the most challenging aspect of your work and what keeps you going?
What keeps me going is just seeing the girls' faces and the love for the girls, and they're so vulnerable and they need help. Most challenging is lack of support from government. I don't want to call out anyone here, but like lack of support from the government of its citizens.
What's one thing that about you that would surprise people?
I cry really easily at movies like Titanic.
Okay. How do you handle the emotional toll of your work?
I put it away and I don't even touch it. That's how I handle it. It's probably not the best thing to do, but I don't even think about it.
Okay. If you had one superpower, what would it be and why?
To go anywhere at any time. So that's teleportation, right? Because save a lot of money on flight tickets and could go anywhere. Like so many benefits.
Yeah. What's your favorite way to unwind at the end of the night?
Storytelling with the girls. When I'm with the girls, like we sit and we just tell stories and the girls laugh and yeah.
Tell us a moment that restored your faith in humanity.
My God, this is quick fire?
Yeah.
A moment that restored my faith in humanity. Oh my God, that's a really hard question. I don't have like a quick answer for that.
No problem.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll cut that out. What's the most meaningful piece of advice you've like received?
Most meaningful piece of advice I've received. There's one saying, I think it's in the Harry Potter movie, which is, it takes a strong man to stand up to your enemies, but it takes an even stronger man to stand up to your friends. That's quite good.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Do you believe that people are fundamentally good, or are they fundamentally self-interested?
I think people are fundamentally both, but more good. Okay. I think there are many more good people on the planet than there are self-interested or bad people. Yeah.
I agree with you very much.
Good.
Okay. Do you think that it's important to follow your heart or your head when making important life decisions?
The answer has to be both.
Okay.
And it really depends on the situation. I'm not a sit on the fence guy. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm sitting on the fence with
you're
that.
Not.
But
okay. Let's say when it comes to things like fighting FGM.
Heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relationship.
Heart and head, because you could really love someone or think you love someone, but then like.
But do you really feel like when you're in that position, you are kind of stuck between your heart and your head?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting to talk about relationships. I don't know. I mean, you can really love someone, but then like they're just you shouldn't be with them because they're giving you like such a hard time, or they've like been really unfaithful or whatever, but your heart really wants them, but I think the right thing to do is leave.
Okay. Okay, I think I put you on the spot there. Do you believe everyone deserves a second chance regardless of what happens?
No way. I don't do second chances. You rape a child, you should die. No way. Yeah. Okay. I know I went really extreme there.
No. It's exactly. Yeah. I agree with you.
Yeah, or like you lie to me big time. Like you tell me a big lie or what. Like I'm not talking to you ever again. Yeah. No forgiveness here. No.
Good. Okay. Are you willing to change your belief if somebody gave you some very compelling evidence?
Yeah. If someone shows me evidence that like I wouldn't be biased towards myself. If I see that they're right, then I would change my mind.
Okay. Do you believe that love alone has the power to create positive change?
These are definitely not quick fire questions.
Sorry?
Do I believe love alone has the power? No way. No. You need love, but you need much more than love too. You need the willpower, you need the effort, you need dedication, determination.
Yeah. Okay, this one is a bit more like love interested. Do you believe in soulmates?
I don't know. That's my answer. That's not like a sitting on the fence thing. It's I think I used to really believe in soulmates when I was younger. You know, like you get sold the dream from movies. Yeah. But now I know how big the world is, and I've met a lot of people. It's like a polite way of saying I've been with loads of girls. Okay. And like that one there in Colombia is just as good as that one there in Germany. Yeah. So it's just like, which one do you prefer? Yeah. So she could be a soulmate or she could be a soulmate. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what people are going to think of that answer.
Yeah. But, okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. That's your way of going. Like, cool. Okay. So we're going to end with like one last question. Okay. Uh-huh. And the reason I'm asking this is because I genuinely do see you in the circumstance, okay, to just wind things up. Okay, if you could have like one conversation with like a member of parliament or someone very high up, a minister, the president, you know, about, you know, FGM, and maybe someone who A, doesn't understand the severity of the situation, and B, to a certain extent doesn't see how wrong it is. Okay. And the reason I'm asking this is because I'm taking into consideration that you will be put in a position where you have to sit with someone who might say, well, this is tradition, this is culture, this is what people do, right? How would you speak to them and what would you say to them?
Say like, these girls need your help. Whether you look, you're in this position and you're the one who wears the tie and you go on TV, but you're one person and there are millions of girls in your nation who are at risk of this, and you claim to represent Tanzanian people. You say you're Tanzanian, but you don't want to help all these Tanzanians that need your help. These kids don't have a voice, you know? They're like 8 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old. No one's going to listen to them. You have the power to lift them all up. Why aren't you using it? You'll be a hero, you know? So, yeah.
I like that, Jesse. I think, you know, storytelling and like making someone feel like what if it happened to someone close to them, that has a very big impact, you know? And sometimes, you know, the empathy, like in order to create empathy, you need to deliver the story in a way where that empathy can open up, right? In that person, right? And yeah, I feel like you're doing such amazing work, Jesse, and I feel like even just first being a guy, okay, and fighting for a cause that is for girls, okay, that's just like, you know, that is what fascinated me. I was like, my God, he's a guy, right? And he's now like he's willing to fight for young girls, right? Yeah. You know, I just feel like, you know, wherever this journey takes you, I know for a fact that like, you know, you're making a big difference and things are just gonna get better. You know, I think that
I trust you. So you saying that, and I know that I trust you, like that's a really good sign for me, because you're kind of like, I don't know, like a future teller. So
future teller.
So you saying this, I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen.
No, I do believe it with all my heart. I do, and I think that I just want to say that for the people, the people out there, like, who maybe want to help you, how can they reach out and help you?
I don't know if you're gonna like put my social media handles on this, but my DMs are open on Instagram. I try and like reply to as many messages as I can. I've also got my email address in my Instagram bio. There's also my TikTok you can reach me on. So that's like getting in touch with me. The organization I mentioned earlier in the podcast is called Hope for Girls and Women in Tanzania. Matumaini kwa wasichana na wanawake Tanzania. Robbie Samueli is the founder of that, so they can reach out to Robbie directly. I haven't got a fundraiser going on at the moment because I was out of Tanzania. I should have kept it up because I was still sending money over here whilst I was away, but it's spreading the word is also really helpful, like sharing my videos. And people don't just share my video once, like share my videos like every day for a week. And it's not for my benefit, it's for the girls' benefit, so sharing posts is a really good way of helping. And I was speaking to you earlier about I want to, because money makes the world go round, and we need money. The girls need money to eat food. So I'm saying it here now on this podcast, I want to launch a kind of clothing, not a clothing line or whatever, not a brand as such, or maybe it is a brand, but a t-shirt or merchandise with like Piga Vito Kekitaji, like fight against FGM on it, and so that way people can buy that from anywhere in the world, and the money will go to helping the girls and building a well or buying a vehicle or whatever for the girls.
Yeah, and I think people need to also remember that these girls, it's about survival. Like they don't have the very basic needs, right? Like food, water, electricity, transport. Like these are the basic things they don't have. So just keeping that in mind when when you're launching your t-shirts, right?
Yeah, and like honestly, the amount of times I have to go to the hospital with the girls, like it's maybe like 2-3 times a week, because there's like right now I think there's 96 girls in one safe house in Butiama, and they all share one toilet, and it's not a real flush toilet, it's a hole in the floor. So the sanitation is really bad, and they're always getting UTIs. And we go to the doctor, and the doctor always says it's for 2 reasons: that they're not drinking enough water and like not drinking good water, and like when they go to the toilet, the toilet is like dirty, they're not cleaning it with like bleach or anything like that, so all the bacteria around there. So, and the girls, they have so much pain with these UTIs. It's literally like every week at least one girl has a UTI, and I was a bit uneducated on that. I thought that UTIs just came from sex. I didn't realize that UTIs actually come from like
bacteria.
And but that's like a big problem, like general hygiene. Okay,
cool. Thank you, Jesse. And thank you for being so real on this podcast. I appreciate like everything you shared, and just being your true self, and doing this amazing work. Just keep going. Don't ever give up, and I don't think you will. No. But just like don't, because it's people like you change the world. Genuinely.
They'll have to kill me before I give up.
I love